Hi, I'm Xiaoting. Here is a presentation of my Mark Strait simulation in which I worked on horse industry and I worked individually as Team S. So first, I will go through the overall performance of my simulation. As you can see in the graph, in terms of SPI, my Team S had very good performance compared to other teams. I can see that my Team S ranked as number 1 in all the dimensions. The SPI increased from 1,000 to 4,749, which indicates more than 370% of increasing rate. The total net contribution increased from 11 million to 122 million, which is a lot of improvement. And compared to other teams, my net contribution is almost 8 times than the team in the second place in the end of simulation. Also, in terms of market share, it increased from 17% to 73%. In another way of speaking, I dominated the industry. Talking about brands, I have 3 brands: Soft, Solo, and Soho. The brand Soft was launched in period 0 and it targets savers. In the end of simulation, it owns 92% of market share in savers and 85% of brand awareness and 83.5% of purchase intention. It's definitely the superstar in savers. Same as Soft, Solo is the top brand in shoppers. The brand was launched in period 0 and it occupies 76.6% of market share in shoppers with 83% of awareness and 63.2% of purchase intention. Yes, it ranked as number 1 in all the angles in shoppers as well. So unlike Soft and Solo, my brand Soho was launched pretty late. It was launched in period 7 and targets professionals. It easily beats the brand Rock, who owns more than 70% of market share among professionals, and finally steals 77.6% of market share from competitors. The brand awareness is about 84% in the end of simulation and 63.2% of purchase intention. Okay, so what's the key of my success? I think the most important one is targeting the right segments. From period 0, I decided to target savers and shoppers because they will have highest growth rate based on forecasting. This is a long-term thinking, and the size of segments will turn into profits as long as I occupy enough market share, and I made it. The second is about R&D. In average, I believe my R&D is more precise and effective than my competitors. Even launching new brand at the same time after R&D, my brand's index are much closer to the sweet point based on scaling reports. In addition, I'm kind of conservative to launch new brand. I saw other teams launch new brands in period 2 or 3. It kind of exhausted their limited budget and make them doesn't have enough investment to compete with my single 2 brands in corresponding segments. And what would I do differently if I do the simulation again? So the first thing I would do is I will have better estimation on production plan. So in the early periods, my production plan is always not enough. This resulting in some market share stolen by competitors even though my brands have higher purchase intention. The second thing is I need to react faster in R&D. In period 2, I didn't invest my brand Solo for R&D even though the production power is weak. The market share drained by 30% because of that. So if I do this again, I will invest in R&D once I realize any weakness on my brand. So the third thing is I will allocate more. I will allocate my commercial team much better based on distribution report and coverage data. This will make the marketing more effective with lower cost. So during the simulation, I learned a lot, and I was able to put what I learned from textbook into practice. First, talking about segmentation and targeting, I learned the following few points. So the first thing is like when you have limited resources, I mean limited budget, just target 1 to 2 segments. The expansion in the early stage is kind of risky, especially when you haven't occupied enough market share from current segments. I learned that from my competitors. I believe this is one of the root causes of why they lose the game. And the second thing is I learned that in targeting, you have to targeting the high growth rate segments. I saw some teams had very intense competition among high earnings and explorers. However, these two segments will have negative growth rate based on forecasting. Even though a company dominating this segment, it won't bring further profits like other promising segments and will finally become a bottom leg. So just think big and doing marketing for the long term. Focus on high growth rate segments will bring about further profits. And apart from that, I realized that segments needs changed very often. The R&D that created 2 periods ago might not fit the same segments anymore. So we will need to keep our eyes open on these changes and making marketing decisions accordingly. For product, I will talk about two separate points. One is the production itself, and another is regarding the production plan. So for the product itself, I realized that any weakness on product will be fatal in marketing. This is especially true in the later periods when the scaling data and the competitors' product data is kind of transparent to everyone. Even though a company invests so much in advertising, it won't remedy the fact that product's power is weak and the people won't buy it. So about the production plan, like I mentioned earlier, I didn't do it very well in simulation, especially in the early periods. So, however, I set up the production plan more aggressive in the later periods, especially when I have enough confidence with my R&D and I know that it's gonna work. So don't limit yourself to the production plan and be able to product more. So more is always better than less in terms of marketing, especially in this game. And finally, it's like once competitors' data is available to you, use the production data wisely. From the production data, you would be able to see the marketing strategy of your competitors. So let's say if their production production plan is kind of low, that means like they will withdraw or modify the brands in the next 1 or 2 periods and give up the current period. If their production plan is extremely high, that means like they have high confidence on the product, right, on the brand, and you need to prepare for very intense competition. So pricing is an interesting topic. The first lesson I learned from the simulation is like the lower price doesn't always indicate high sales. So in period 2, I set a very low price for one of my products as I was intent to clear the inventory and modify the brand with R&D in next period. However, the performance was very poor. Even though my segments is savers who are really sensitive for pricing, but a lower price doesn't increase their purchase intention. So lowering price is not always an effective medication in marketing. That's something I learned from the simulation. And the second thing is like the rate of base cost against selling price is really important. So when the ratio is kind of low, it means you are getting more profits, more money for every single unit you are selling. Even though you doesn't have sales as high as your competitors, but the low cost ratio guaranteeing your profits as well. Finally, I think we need to use the tool wisely. So there's one tool called regression-based tool, which is very handy to use to set up ideal price. I believe in reality we will have similar tools as well, similar tools, similar data as well. So use them wisely to price the brand in corresponding segments is very important. Apart from that, I will talk about place and promotions. So the first finding from the simulation is from the marketing in savers. I realized that savers like purchasing products from mass merchandisers. In the last period of simulation, my brand software was sold 754,000 of units in mass merchandiser and only 122,000 items in special store and 230 units from online store. This matches the image of a merchandiser, which is low price, high volume, and high promotion. So that's why, savers love it. The second point is related to the allocation of commercial team. So make sure you allocate the commercial team wisely in different places. That will facilitate your sales. That is especially true in the early stages when you have limited resource to allocate your commercial resource. So basically looking at the commercial panel and the coverage data so that you can allocate the commercial team with high efficiency and make sure they are effective. Last but not least, the high distribution coverage can redeem the weakness in purchase intention. That's what I found from the simulation. In the final 2 periods of my simulation, my brands Solo and Soho only got about like 63% of purchase intention, but both of them occupy more than 75% of market share in their segments. This is because for both brands I have much higher distribution coverage than my competitors. It is especially true when competitor brands have similar characteristic and advertising investment, then the coverage really matters to compete with them. So this is pretty much what I learned from the simulation, and I'm happy to be part of this simulation, and I learned a lot. Thank you.